For the past couple of months, I've been participating in an SMP called SMP Swarm. Recently, there's a couple of controversies going on the server, and I wanted to make a video on the whole thing. However, I haven't really been making too much content on the server, so making this video maybe didn't seem like it made sense. However, after some consideration, I decided to combine a few video ideas together to make one massive history of the server. Hello, hi, it is I, your Lord and Savior TreeFault, and welcome to an untold history of SMP Swarm. Sometime in the middle of December, I was asked by my friend Spade to join a Minecraft SMP called SMP Swarm. The creator of SMP Swarm, Cryptonic, wanted YouTubers to join, and since I had just started streaming for the first time in about a year, I thought it would be a good opportunity. The scheduled start date would actually be on January 1st, the day after New Year's Eve, when I was having a party and some friends over. So me, being an idiot, stayed up all night and was very exhausted that next day. However, despite all of this, I got on with 8 other guys and we all started SMP Swarm. Now here's an introduction to the original cast of SMP Swarm. I'm gonna jump! Don't do it! Ah!
Making a note here, huge success. Hard to overstate my satisfaction.
Oh, you look at my skirt! Bro, you
do what we must because we can.
I said don't hit me.
For the good of all of
I can
us.
see everything.
I like that.
I know.
And the science gets done. And
yes, he's really good at it.
Introduce yourself, stand in the middle.
I'm the otter.
Alright, you're done.
Which gay people.
Not even angry.
Yo, I'm a Garth, by the way, if you didn't know. I'm the funny man Mario, and I
so
just
sincere right now.
A quick note I want to add before we continue this video. For the entirety of this video, I'm going to be calling quite peeved Elijah and Amino Marco. Now that's out of the way, let's continue with the video. This video is going to be divided up into 3 chunks: the early era, the middle era, and the new era. There's a particular reason we call it the new era, but we'll get into that later. SMP Swarm had a gimmick. Viewers of the streamers on the server could actually join in spectator mode and watch what was going on. This didn't really pan out the way we wanted it to though, mostly because Cryptonic wanted to keep the server performance up and people couldn't actually go out farther than spawn. After about spending 30 minutes wasting time, we all started doing our own thing and splitting up. Despite us all being split up, one group did arise on the first day of the server. They went by Beta Lands. The entire base was dedicated to building in the old beta style. To this day, it is the largest base on the server and has the most active people. In the early days, its members included Agar, Elijah, Pyrone, Yotter, and me for a period of time. Eventually though, the population would drop to just Elijah, Pyrone, and Yotter. The rest of the server, however, would go on in their own solo groups doing their own thing in their own bases. Until the Ender Dragon fight a few days later. Throughout the coming days, Fort Buscus and Spade's Cabin would be built. Both are considered to be some of the oldest builds on the server. They're also known as some of the most recognizable. Spade's Cabin would actually be one of the first larger scale bases on the server. Nowadays it's definitely outclassed by their bases, but it's still a pretty recognizable build. Many thought that we had a mending stash, but in reality Spade's Cabin housed the mending villager we used to get our supply. Cryptonic's base, Fort Buscus, was actually a recreation of a base made by Buscus. After seeing Beta Lands, he got inspired to build the old base, and honestly it's a pretty cool build. He added a lot of foliage around the base, which actually adds a cool atmosphere. At some point, Fort Buscus would become a target, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. A big thing at the beginning of the server was actually finding the end, because a lot of people really wanted elytra travel. So immediately, Marco, me, and Spade would do a bit of math and figure out the exact location of the end fortress. On my way to the fortress, I actually found a swamp and was intrigued because I was interested in making a custom village, and swamp villagers were a bit intriguing. I eventually made it out to 5,000 with everyone, and we raided the fortress along with me waking up my parents after dying. Eventually, I would set up a mini fishing hut over at Beta Lands as a temporary base to live at until I could make my swamp base. Sadly, I never took any screenshots of the base, as A, it didn't last very long, and B, it was only temporary, so I didn't feel any need to screenshot it. Eventually, Pyrone, being notorious for destroying things around the world he didn't like, would destroy the fishing hut because he didn't like it. But by that point, I had already moved out of the base and had already gone on to New Swamplands. New Swamplands was my first actual base on the server that I had built on my own. It was a custom village that I tried to make in the actual style of Minecraft's builds. Overall, I felt like it actually did fit in with the Minecraft aesthetic, besides Eichwitz. Eichwitz was the massive cobblestone build that I added. At some point, it was supposed to be an idea for a witch tower, but it looked more like a fort, so I decided to build it and make it a villager house for extra villagers that I didn't have room for. I would live there for the majority of the server's lifespan until I decided to go try and move into Mushago. Mushago was going to end up being a mushroom island I would convert into a normal island and make a custom biome out of it. It never really fully panned out as the server ended before I could finish, but it was a cool idea. The last base we're going to talk about is Marco's fort. Besides the one time Marco tried to move to an ice cap, this was Marco's permanent base on the server. It's a base that he made a couple thousand blocks out from spawn that he intended to be a temporary base, but eventually it became his permanent home. During the first 2 weeks of the server, the end was actually banned because Cryptonic wanted to get everyone on all together to fight the Ender Dragon. But eventually we got everyone on besides Agar and Yatter, who were both pretty inactive at the time, and Cryptonic agreed that we would all go to the end that day. Throughout the next hour, me and Cryptonic would both set up our streams and everyone would head out for the End Fortress, besides Elijah, who can't figure out how chords work. It's simple. The X value and the Z value are the ones you can't. Why can't you read? After we finally got Elijah over to the End Fortress, we took our screenshot and then we headed into the end. Both me and Cryptonic streamed the event if you want to watch it. However, after we defeated the Ender Dragon, something changed on the server. People stopped getting on as often as there wasn't a lot to build towards, and a lot of goals stopped happening. The main people who were active during the next couple of weeks were me, Elijah, Spade, and Marco, and this defined the next era of SMP Swarm. About a week or two after this, the server was still pretty active. I took a few days off after dying in the end and losing a lot of things, but once I came back, there's a lot of stuff going on at spawn, and I honestly thought the server was going to start thriving. Little did I know that this thriving would only last a few more days. The main people playing at this time were me, Elijah, Marco, and Spade. That's not to say that Cryptonic and Pyrone weren't playing, they just weren't playing as much as we were. And with the lack of a sleep plugin, which we had all been begging for weeks, we all started to get a little bored with the server. However, we kept persevering and we did a lot of stuff in this time. A lot of things would happen at Beta Lands and New Swamplands, along with Spade moving out of Spade's cabin into his ocean base. Me, Marco, and Spade would start a little group and start doing stuff around the server to take it over as a joke. The group wouldn't have a name for a very long time, but we did a lot of shenanigans during this dead era. Elijah was the main pioneer at spawn, doing most of the stuff around there. I wanted to help out a lot, but I kinda got distracted with the group. We actually had plans to create a bunch of farms around the server, in secret, to control the server. The plan was to get a really good mending villager, then create a pillager farm to get a lot of raids going on, and then to get massive deals, to then flood the market with mending books and become the ultimate gods of the server. All joking aside, this group actually would gain a lot of power in the future, but we're not there yet. I think if you ask anyone what actually defined the new era as a different era from the rest, I think all of them would tell you one simple build started the whole era. Dorime. On January 31st, Spade set out with one goal, creating the Church of Dorime. It took Spade 8 hours, and he did it all in one night. He did not wake up that next day until late into the afternoon. And the influence this build was going to have on the future of the server would be enormous. Many got on that next morning and were in awe of how gorgeous and how great this build was. It was the largest thing at the time we'd ever seen on the server and the biggest project done in the probably shortest amount of time of anything on the server. The fact that it was done in such a short time and looked so good was amazing on its own. However, some saw a joke in Dorime. Some saw that you could rearrange some of the letters in the Amen sign in Dorime to spell moan. Many people would repeatedly do this over the rest of the server's lifespan, and it infuriated Spade. He was tired of people pushing him around at spawn, and that's the entire reason that he would move out 3,000 blocks to his new ocean base. Spade was tired of interacting with these people. They had messed with his builds, destroyed his things, and overall gave him no respect. So, he decided to go into self-isolation, away from everyone else, on his own deserted island. Spade was inspired by some of the villages that were found in Breath of the Wild, and decided to make his own fishing village based off of some of them. It was never fully completed as the server ended before he could finish everything, but what he did build is very good. Spade would talk to me for a few nights about how he hated what everyone was doing, and I agree with some of his sentiments. I agreed that people shouldn't be doing this at spawn, and this is not very cool. Me and him joked around about starting a war on the server, but what we didn't know is that we actually would start one. Our little group, me, Spade, and Marco, would become a little bit more than just a little group. We would get an official title, the Unity. The Unity's goal was to protect spawn and builds around spawn, or just bases in general, from getting griefed and messed with by these people on the server. We were tired of it, and we were going to stick up for the little guys. Spade wrote down some plans that, well, let's just say they weren't the most peaceful plans on Earth. The Order of Annihilation was the name of this plan. It's a little self-explanatory, but essentially, if they didn't comply with our demands, we were going to ruin the server. I highly advised Spade against this, but he kept it in mind just in case. We eventually got Marco to join, with hesitation from both sides. While this was going on, I got into a bit of a disagreement with Cryptonic, and I was making fun of his newly built bank. Because of the tension between us already, I just said some very dumb things, like his bank was communist and it was stupid, and he got offended by this and decided, as a joke, to take me to court. We decided to actually go through with it, just for the memes, and, well, the Unity decided to get involved. We knew we had to get our name out there somehow, and we knew to do so we'd have to start some conflict. But what? After I told them about the court case, they knew that we had to do something there. The court case was mainly about the propaganda posted by Cryptonic around the server and my sheep getting died. After the bank was created, Cryptonic asked Yotter to put propaganda around the server to advertise it. However, that next morning, I got on to find that my sheep admin died, and I accused Yotter and Cryptonic by association. However, because the Unity was involved, I had a plan. I was going to intentionally lose the court case so we could get our name out there and do a bit of a stunt. The court case went by just as planned, and everything was going smoothly. As Spade announced that I would lose the court case, Spade was to turn a page, and then it would happen. And then nothing happened. We planted TNT under Dorime, and because the redstone was a little bit faulty, it didn't actually get set off. The plan is that after we set it off, we were going to blame someone like Pyrone and say that we were no longer going to stand for this tyranny and that we would defend spawn. However, since it didn't work and we had to set it off manually, everyone caught on quite quickly, and it started a lot of drama. Over the next 10 minutes, there was a lot of fighting and screaming and demands, and it was just a whole mess. I wish we had planned this out a lot better, and I wish we handled it a lot better, because it actually turned into a lot of real drama instead of a lot of fake drama. But, to say the least, it didn't go as well as planned. However, we definitely got our name out there as the Unity, and what we were going to stand for. Fighting for protection of... We bombed the church, and we're fighting for It doesn't make sense, shut up. Honestly, I think the Unity kind of failed. Sure, we got what we wanted, which was power and fame and protecting stuff, but not really a lot came out of it besides that. A lot of people were actually kind of angry with us, and a lot of conflict was started, and a lot of drama that shouldn't really have happened because of a lot of lack of communication on both sides. However, it was some of the most fun months on the server, and the most was going on the server after this. Spawn started exploding with popularity. Me, Elijah, Pyrone, Cryptonic, and just everyone on the server was getting on and building stuff around Spawn. There were so many new builds at this time. Spawn was decorated, the Twin Towers began construction, the museum almost finished construction, Pyrone's shop was made, the Unity house was made, the well at Spawn was created, the pathway was completed. Just overall, there was so much happening during this period, and it was honestly some of my favorite memories of the server. And a lot more was going on past Spawn. I had plans to create a massive underwater village, Spade was going to finish off his island archipelago village, Elijah was going to go finish off Betalands and complete Spawn, and so many more projects were all going on at this time. However, One final project would be the end of the server. Elijah started construction on a replica of Stampy's house. However, after he logged off that night, Pyron got on and, well, I think you can tell what happened. This devastated Elijah, and honestly, he didn't want to play anymore, and after he told us, neither did we. We officially left the server that next day, and, well, tensions kind of rose after that. So, what happened next? Did Tree and Friends finally make up with Cryptonic? Did the server continue? What happens now? Are we going to have a season 2? Well, I can answer all of that for you now. I think this is the first actual public announcement of this, but we're actually going to do an SMP Swarm Season 2. Me and Cryptonic made up, along with everyone else, and we all decided to return for Season 2, besides Agar, because, well, he kind of actually quit really early on. Expect a video for Swarm Season 2 around the time 1.16 comes out. But yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed. Please subscribe for more, and don't die. It took me a month to make, I'm so depressed.